Morning all. So let's have a look at the markets this morning and see what's setting. Before we do that, of course, as ever, let's just look at the risk events that might occur. In fact, let's just do a little update of this current week and see where we are. Just a quick picture. So US inflation yesterday didn't came out, the PPI inflation came out below expectations, but starting before, actually right at the beginning of yesterday, the Bank of England, as expected, the rate was increased by 0.25%, and the voting was exactly as it was previously. So this is the voting has become more of a focus now to see if you get some dissenters that don't want to go with the crowd. Of course, there's two of them, but anyway, so there we are, 4.5% at the moment, so it's up there amongst the higher rates. We also got then, yes, the PPI came out slightly lower than expected. It was a bit of a mixed bag there for the dollar yesterday in that respect. Yet the dollar, of course, continues to strengthen, and that's more based on the fear of trying to get the debt ceiling, etc., sorted out, as opposed to much else at the moment that's taking precedence. So there we are. Today we've had UK GDP came in disappointed. It's not reflected too much. It's a month-on-month figure disappointed. The quarterly figure though was slightly ahead of expectation, so hence the market, the pound hasn't just fallen to free fall. So the quarterly figure hanging in there. And this afternoon we've got consumer sentiment, etc., on the US. That's never a major mover, so we're in for a quiet day in terms of news. What I didn't look at there was the speakers. Let's just check through speakers this morning, today. There are quite a lot of speakers flicking around. They seem to be having less effects. As famous last words, as soon as I see that they'll probably come in, but we've got a bit of a mixture of speakers through the day. Most of them are singing off the same hymn sheet, so it's not really making a lot of difference. Right, let's look at the technicals, and as ever, starting off with US dollar, euro US dollar. So yesterday we saw the main pivotal area I was looking at previously. It's quite a key level there. Found a lot of support around it. Yesterday it found support around it for a little while, but it's broken. It's catching a little bounce at the moment. It's come down the time frame. I'm questioning whether we'll see it run into the underside of these lows here, and whether it will find some resistance there. Was that around? It's probably pretty close to that pivotal level again. So it's just a level that's reoccurred so many times. There you go. It's got the daily pivot there. Yesterday's sort of movement. I say yesterday's. This week's movement has been surrounded by. It found the previous time. You could see another shot at it, but it certainly failed off yesterday. Looking soft with lower highs, lower lows. Looking a soft market, not necessarily a trade setting for me there. The pound, well, it had a good solid sell-off yesterday overall. A strong move down there, sort of bear flag territory at the moment. It's broken its sort of higher lows, higher highs situation. It's given us a lower high, so structurally the market's changed from this more bullish market to a bit of a standoff, really. When you look at it on the hourly chart, you see the lower highs. It's so much clearer. Again though, I would be looking, I'm just putting I'm just putting an alert on there of what happens when it comes to the pivot. So I could chase for the pivot and try and get it, scalp a few pips out of there, but it's a risky old time to be doing that regardless. But realistically, the market at this stage could be rolling over. So it's a case of with the pound, I'll put it on my watch list today to come back to and see if I can find anything off it. A little bit messy about what it's doing at the moment, but that happens through the Asian session. A bit of consolidation. Dollar yen Dollar yen, high lows, high highs through here. What are we doing then on the daily basis? Just getting the gear, brain in gear through all the time frames. Bit of a mess here this week now. It started the week off okay and was trickling along. It had a nice breakdown there from its pivot sort of area, but then it's got itself into a bit of a mess, and that certainly didn't help yesterday, did it? Really went quite quickly in the morning. I was just doing some analysis of this. I'd set an alert up originally at the pivot here, and this is the sort of moves I'm looking for, but this just pushed on through. I went out, came back, done. Anyway, looking like it's switching sides again back to the upside at this moment, which suggests a slightly stronger dollar potentially. Okay, Aussie dollar, I mentioned this yesterday. I'd been short, stopped the day before. I got back into it yesterday. We're currently sitting part way up, part way to the target, looking for the lows here overall. It's consolidating around this area here. Real question, I was going to add to it, but I think it's right. It could just be adding to a bottom, a mid-term bottom here. Temptation when you see breakdowns like this is to just blindside yourself against what else is going, but do want it to push on further. But it's a Friday. It's got nearly halfway to its the lows there. Should just leave that a moment. There is a possible, I mean, when I'm looking at some of these bigger movements, I'm looking always for the add-ins. My intention was to add in when it was about 50 pips up, which it's not far off at the moment, but and then bring the stop down on the first trade down, move that down to break even, adding in the whole full position, so you're only risking 1% still. But as I say, we'll see what happens here. It could be an add-in. It's not really moved anything at all for the day. There isn't a lot of news to drive it either, but if it does start rolling, it doesn't often take a known bit of news to get things rolling, obviously. Another flat market at the moment is US dollar CAD. Doesn't look so flat when you look at it on its dailies, of course, and it's the importance of looking across multiple time frames. Underside of the underside here of the monthly pivot just coming up to its through its weekly now. I was looking at this yesterday, that weekly consolidating around the highs. Maybe it's got further upside to be happening here. It's the way it looks at the moment. It looks soft again. The US dollar looks strong against it, so against the CAD. So New Zealand dollar, quick flick onto this. This really did roll over yesterday, and again I'm looking at a channel sort of pattern. If I can draw a channel quick enough, there are you. Where are you? Parallel channel. That's what I want. And if you look across here somewhere, this is what I was looking at. Now I'm drawing this badly, and really looking at the lows down here. So just move that up a little bit here, but you can and bring that one back here. There we go. Just bring that up. You get the idea of what I'm looking for as a sort of a channel. Now it's a bit like the Aussie dollar. It's halfway down, so my preference is to trade them around the tops and the bottoms. This one actually held on better yesterday, didn't go off and push through, but the previous day even did have a shove up there though. Nothing really on that. It's already down to its S1. If it gets back above its S1 today, and the break starts breaking down again, there's a trade on for the S2. So again, commodity currencies looking the weakest out there at the moment. Euro picking up across the board. Euro yen sort of catching a bit of a bounce here, but it's still very much into a bit of a changed picture. Structurally it's changed. We've got this lower high that came in. I think I measured it, well, might have measured it somewhere at least in my mind I've measured the wave formation here, and it's still got some potential to chip off a little bit further. Again, it was in this sort of, I was looking at it yesterday morning, looking at this sort of zone here, which had become a buying zone. It's broken through, sort of only just, and then cause some more buying, but nothing really on that at the moment. The other euro pairs, euro pound, again structurally changing here a little bit. We had a bit of a divergence. It's broke the level of the divergence. It was putting the lower highs in a bit more, not clearly. If it breaks the highs here, it's put a more solid move and maybe more upside potential. The euro Aussie, again bear flaggy sort of pattern here. Weird old price action. I say weird old, it's an inverted chimney as I used to refer to it, which is quite a bullish move, which has moved bullishly for a while, but may just wear out. Let's just watch this morning. It's got some scope. Maybe it's the safest place is waiting for it to get back to its weekly pivot there, so maybe into next week. Euro CAD, again having sold off quite strongly, done a similar sort of picture at the moment, pushing up. This could all be changing, and so we could see all these roll over come 8 o'clock or just after, in the hour between 8 and 9. We often see complete reversal, so when I'm doing this analysis, it's almost constant analysis through the morning. I often find trades completely the opposite direction to which I was originally looking at in these updates, I'm afraid. You get the switchbacks. Pound's a bit more, has held on a bit more solidly, although it's struggling to do too much to get this get out of its range against the Aussie dollar. You'd have thought with what it was doing, it'd have been pushing up further, but not particularly interesting to me. Pound CAD, again very flat where it's sitting here on the 4-hour is flat towards a low. Maybe if it does break to the downside, it could be interesting. Having said that, with what's happened before, it's been bullish, but it's a mixed bag, because whenever I see these consolidation phases away from the top, often they continue to the direction they've just been moving in. So that's too risky for me. Okay, so not a lot today. Got the pound dollar in summary there as a possibility. We'll see what happens if it comes up to its daily pivot and see if it reacts from that. So possible short later. If it runs through it, I'll just step aside and leave it alone. Right, let's have a look at some of the other markets then. I am finding setups occurring later in the mornings these days. As I said, it's just an hour and a half difference makes a big difference in terms of what we're seeing in the markets. Let's look at the equity markets then today. Let's come away from the alleys, eh? So no surprise here. Said it yesterday, it's bearish at the moment. The CSI 300 continues to remain bearish. A break of those lows there would even, for me, probably see further selling. So looking very iffy at the moment. The Nikkei's been the wonder one. The wonder market at the moment is consolidated for most of the week. They're pushed out well this morning though. This is a typical consolidation around a high, and off it's gone. Probably got a bit of divergence over the highs there now with the price action that's occurred. Just see what happens, but it still looks pretty bullish. Of course, a lot can happen over a weekend. The Nifty 50, I'm still bullish on it. It's pushing back up again today. It did roll back a bit yesterday, but still overall in the market, I'm seeing bullishness. The Aussie is still sitting in this consolidated phase, not really of interest. S&Ps, again, it's consolidated. It's difficult. Look, I mean, it's got inside days and things like this after inside days. It's not a clear market, and when the market's like this, you can try and trade it because you think you should be trading it, but you're better off sitting in cash or looking for a different market that you can adopt and make some money out of. Dow Jones, similar case. Nasdaq's the better one of these, but even, well, I don't know, it did all right yesterday. It's off a little bit this morning, just a little, but it's up on a day so far. as I said, it's outperforming, more positive on the Nasdaq than I am the other markets. The DAX, that's all I can say when I look at the DAX, is it's the amount of consolidation we've seen around these highs here. It's a bit like back here, then finally managed to push over and rolled over. Not straightforward where it sits here. It's pushed up in the near range here. It's broken through the pivot. I'm still sort of I mentioned it yesterday, and it was pushing up actually when I was mentioning it yesterday. And what did it do? An hour or so later, started the reversal, consolidated for a while, rolled off properly from R1 from the pivot down to its S1. Well, we're pushing up again this morning. Are we going to see this roll over and push back? We will see. But it's looking okay at the moment, but okay at the moment doesn't really bode too well sometimes. Right, the FTSE, it's not really going anywhere either on a daily basis, chopping along. Really a bit rangy. It's starting to get, we've sort of got a couple of like almost a double bottom. We've got a struggling area around 77.83 upward, but it's looking like it's pushing well at the moment. But as I say again, you give it an hour or so, it could be rolling right the way down. So yeah, mixed on markets there. Didn't look at gold earlier on. It's just a quick look at gold before I get in trouble for not looking at gold. Gold consolidating around where it is here. It's come off a little bit from the highs. It's the strength of the dollar that's sort of underlying is the important thing here, and it's pushing gold back a little bit. If that's soft, if some deals done in America on to get the debt ceiling sorted, or maybe gold will get another push up then. But until then, it's looking iffy and maybe roll over some more. It's given the opportunity for dollar strength. Spot crude, and I know it's inverted thinking in terms of you think, well, they can't deal with something, but money just runs to bonds. It goes to safety. We've seen the equity markets just going flat, and it's money going to bonds. That's dollar buying into anyway. Spot crude. Still rolling back a bit here at the moment on the dailies. It's yeah, to me looking like, well, maybe we'll go back and chase those lows at some stage. Right, and finally we'll have a look at that kryptonites, Bitcoin, crypto. So yep, as expected, sliding its way down here. I mentioned this yesterday or when, I can't remember. No point asking me, but anyway, continues its sliding point down here. I'm looking at this quarterly pivot that's sitting below and wondering whether it's drawn towards that. Obviously, the quarterly R1's right the way up there, didn't get anywhere near that, and I'm just thinking, well, statistically we see these pivots hit. A very high probability of the pivots hit, and it's not that far away from it now, and it might just be drawn down to it. Ethereum, similar picture here. Lower highs confirmed into this over the last couple of days, and looking certainly much softer. You tell me if you want anything else looks, by the way. It could be a sell in May, Ritu. That's the old saying, isn't it? Sell in May and go away. With these equity markets, well, maybe with everything. Let's just all go away. Let's just look through here. I'll always like to have a quick look at the Ripple. The Ripple's really just sort of showing the similar case, up a little bit today actually, but same sort of lower high. Well, I say same sort is leading the way into the downside. It's not far away from those other prices. Actually, not far away from what were highs down here. Anyway, looking a bit softer in that market. We'll see what happens over the weekend, see if any of the whales start trying to push the market one way or t'other. But at the moment it doesn't look the prettiest. Shame. It was, if you go back a month or so, and it was looking okay, and even here it was looking okay on these markets, but it's just dropped off on the yeah, as I say, it's showing some signs of bullishness. Anyway, trade carefully. If you haven't seen it already, I'm doing a webinar tomorrow. You can catch the link somewhere on one of my YouTube videos, or you can I've put a YouTube I'll stream it live on YouTube either as well. So tomorrow, so back testing made easy, effectively, he says, or easier. Anyway, on that note, if I don't see you tomorrow, I'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now. Here we go.